Okay, welcome everyone to another Empires and Puzzles Books interview video. I am JekylandHyde, otherwise known as Empires and Puzzles Books, and we have a special guest here today, MADDOG, the leader of Wolves of the North. How you doing today, MADDOG?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Fantastic. So you're tuning in from Central Georgia.
Central Georgia, yep.
Excellent. Pleasure to have you. You were nominated by Chaos from 7 Days Departed, a former Alliance mate, to be interviewed because of how successful you and the Wolves have been, and you're a cheap to play player.
Yes, that is correct.
Now he's in Chaos is in 7 Days Departed now, but what were you just saying to me about Once a Wolf?
Yeah, Chaos is a former wolf. He's taken the step up to the top 3 tier, but we have a motto in Wolves that once a wolf, always a wolf. So even though he's with 7 days, we still feel he's part of our group.
Sure, that's an excellent motto. So let's get around to talking about your successes. Now, everybody I think kind of defines things a little differently. So if you're a little comfortable, what do you define as cheap to play?
Well, so for me, I'm a cheap to play. I buy the POV and the VIP. That's mostly all I pay for. I'll get the 99-cent deals every now and then, but not every time.
Right. So you're not buying like big gem packages or the big bonus things that
Not at
are
all.
20, 30, 40 bucks to get a 4-star ascension item and some other junk.
Nope.
All right. So and you've been playing for quite a while, January of 2018.
That's correct.
So I have a screenshot here of your achievement date of when you finished the tutorial, I guess it was. So if anybody's watching and they don't know how to figure out how long you've been playing, if you go into the system screen there, like where you'd contact support, one of them at the bottom has a little awards ribbon. If you click on that, it'll tell you when you finished all the tutorials to get the game started.
Yeah.
So I was actually comparing your account to mine, and it's kind of interesting because I always say that spending in the game really buys time.
Yes,
It
that's
does.
very true.
It
Yep.
buys some luck with summons, and you have maybe some access to some more chances to get some different heroes. But really, it's all about really you're purchasing a lot of time. You're just speeding up from building everything on your in your home base to collecting more food and iron to build up troops and heroes and things like that. So you started January of 18. I started January of 19. And
Yeah, I
you're
was actually I was watching your interview to yourself, I guess, earlier today on YouTube, and I noticed that you were basically a year behind me.
yeah, it's interesting, but I just hit player level 163 and you're at 84.
That's
So
correct.
and I would probably venture that I'm one of the heavier pay to plays. So that gives I think viewers an idea of where how much distance can be made if you're spending. But the really solid point here is it doesn't matter that I got to that level a year faster than where you're at. What's important is that we've been on the same battlefield and you've been the leader on the other side. So
That's true. Yeah.
it's dealing with what you have and how you're applying it, and you obviously, and that's what we want to talk about today. So how do you think you've achieved so much success as a cheap to play? What has been your method, your strategy?
Patience is the big thing. I mean, you can't, rush it. If you're not paying, you can't rush certain things. You gotta bide your time, and you get there eventually. Um, it took me a good 2 years, I think, probably to get enough heroes, enough 5 stars built up to where I can compete in the, upper tier. We're not top tier, but top 20 area.
Well, that's definitely. I'm comfortable with where we're sitting. I don't know
Yeah.
that I don't know that I want to get much higher, but
Well, I mean, when I first started playing, my first 3 months, and I watched a lot of Anchor's videos and Vader and UCLA, and just kind of studied as I was learning,
Mhm.
and that made me want to eventually maybe try to get to the top tier with 7 Days Departed or whoever. But me being a cheap to play, I've come to the realization that's probably never going to happen because I'm not going to have 5 of the top tier defensive heroes. It's just not going to happen.
Sure. And I think one of the challenges with that, because we've seen some remarkable achievements, even from free to play, that are capable of putting together solid teams and achieving a lot in the game. I think one of the biggest challenges, and we're going to get to talking about this a little later, is the meta changes. And the pay to
Yep,
plays will be able to adapt to the meta change faster because they're spending the money for the summons to get the new heroes that are doing the new whatever the new heroes are doing. So
exactly.
so let's save that for a little bit, but let's talk about your rise. So I get the patience thing. It takes time to build everything. You're not rushing things. Um, so let's talk about the choices you made along the way. If you can think back over the last few years as you were selecting heroes, do you find yourself to be even more cautious, you think, than others when you're choosing who to level?
So originally I was not, I was, any 5-star I got, I was starting to level them just so I could make that, you know, worthwhile and be able to try to compete. Now that I've gotten a decent base, then I'm more selective of who I level because I'm pretty comfortable with the teams I have and, who I'm using, and I can afford to wait now and be selective of who I want to level up.
Yeah, I can, even as a pay to play, I made that mistake. I think early that you're like, oh, you got my first five, you want to get it maxed, and
Yep.
you suddenly put a lot of resources into something that you kind of question a little later. Now, to be fair,
Yep.
my first 5-star was Quintus, and I still have yet to max him. So I at least put the brakes on Quintus. But who was your first five that you maxed?
That's a good question. I'm not totally sure. I think it was Horg Hall, but yeah,
Awesome.
wish I could have that one back. There's several I wish I could have back now, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, me too. I hear that. So if you're not spending, you're not getting the deals that include 4-star ascension items. You're
Correct.
probably not advancing like the regular daily chest, the monster and the raid chest too frequently to get those extra chances, I would imagine.
No, I try to complete 2 of those every day.
Hmm.
I get one in the morning when I wake up. I'll usually skip it with 1 or 2, a cost of 1 or 2 gems. That lets me get 2 a day. I'll use
Oh, we lost your audio.
I use the weekly raid tournaments
Hmm.
to help me complete my monster chest. So I'll split that throughout the day. I know a lot of people will do all 5 hits at once. I don't. I usually do 2 and then 3 later on in the afternoon whenever I skip and get my new monster chest up.
All right, excellent. Just so we're clear, the hero chest, right, for the raid tournament?
Yes.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
hero.
hero chest. Sorry.
Yeah. So, so what I'm trying to get at is I'm trying to get to where the source has been for you primarily of getting the 4-star ascension mats because that's something we all struggle to get. But you're limited a little bit on the chests.
I
You're
am.
obviously you're saving the money, not buying the packages. I'm imagining that you don't compete then for 4-star ascension items in the challenge events each month.
I don't. I try to get to the tier that has the troop token and the hero token, and then I just cut it off there.
All right,
If I
awesome.
can,
I mean, I got to congratulate you. You're doing a heck of a lot of awesome warring with
thank you.
being conscientious on the wallet.
Yeah,
so
I try.
so where do you find your best sources then for the 4-star ascension items?
Titans for sure. I complete all the rare quests, so I'll get them from that. And like I said, I've spent almost 4 years in the game now,
Yep.
so
So
it's waiting.
yep. So you get some from Path of Valor.
Yes,
And is your base completely built at this point?
for the most part, yeah. I've got um, maybe a mine that I don't have all the way up, but I seem to have plenty of iron, so
Okay. Yeah, iron, man, to me, food is always the issue in the game from
yep,
beginning to end.
yep.
Always hungry for food. Now, do you Do you have the alchemy lab built, and are you using that for alka
I do.
shards?
Yes, I do.
So what's your lab strategy?
For that, I keep it pretty low. I'm doing 1, 3, and 5, I think, maybe 6, 5 or 6. And then I try to keep that running. So it's, again, cheap materials. So I craft arrows with my iron that I'll feed into the Alchemy Lab 3, I think it is. That way I can just get alka shards is all I'm trying to get.
Yeah, I'm looking over here at your roster real quick. Let me just do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 8, 5, 40.
42, I think.
If I'm counting right, it looks like 43.
Okay, 43.
43 maxed fives. That is
Yes,
that's definitely more than you need for war.
it is.
Even if you back
Of
out
course,
the war, even if you back
yeah,
out
there's a
Horgle.
handful. There's a handful that I don't use. I have a Justice. I have a Horgol. I've got mm, there's several other slow heroes. Elena, I don't really use. Sometimes I'll throw in there for a clean, but she's not on my main war teams. So.
Sure. Well, maybe bust them out every now and then for rush.
Yeah, I'll use them for rush.
Yep.
So
Yeah, no, I mean it's a
actually,
healthy roster. So now, what has been your strategy as far as emblems? Are you only embleming fives, or do you spread them out?
so I have just recently started spreading them out. I'll use on 5s and 4s that I use for my war teams. I'll emblem up. I use a good 6 or 7 4 stars in wars that I have max emblem, and I've just recently started putting them on 3 stars to try to help myself with the events to finish a little bit better, and then the raid tournaments as well.
Okay, excellent. Now, how has do you have any specific tips or strategies you learned that you'd want to share with other cheap to play things that you learned over the last 4 years that you're like, hey, if you can do XYZ, it might save you a few bucks and speed things up?
Um, Not really. I mean, I've studied a lot. Anchor has a little introductory guide. I think Nittany Lion Roar has an introductory guide. It's just building your base and buying your time. Don't rush leveling a 5 star, I guess. Using those 4 star ascension items to on a hero that you may not really use.
All right, yeah. So doing your homework, make sure you're being efficient.
Right.
Now,
You definitely have to be a lot more or almost maximize your efficiency. Being a cheap to play, you can't waste resources, valuable resources.
I hear that. Now, how would you characterize the Wolf Pack overall? Are they mostly cheap to play, pay to play?
The majority pay to play. I don't think they're the upper end pay players, but we definitely have some spenders too.
Sure, sure. And so I'm always curious, how do you as a cheap to play uh, work around or work with what I always call the guilt purchases that Small Giant puts out there, like with the Mythic Titan every month, or like the Valentines, and you buy and your alliance mates get it, and you have all these things coming in. Do you feel obligated, or are you pretty comfortable doing what you need to do?
Well, the Wolfpack has never forced or encouraged spending. We like to say, it's free, it's your own choice. If you want to pay, great, we appreciate it, but we don't try to demand or force it of anyone.
All right, yeah, that's great. Yeah, and I haven't been
Yeah,
in any alliances, and I think most alliances have been pretty good, and none of them have put pressure on. But I do find it to be one of the awkward things that they do in the game. Understand that there are free to play and cheap to play players, that they put this
it
thing out
is.
there.
It is. We've actually had one player leave because they didn't feel it was right that I didn't buy the Mythic Titan bundle.
Oh wow.
Being the leader of the alliance, they were like, just buy one. Like, sorry.
Hey,
it's I'm cheap to play. Everybody in the alliance knows it, and it's how it is.
and that's fine. If people aren't comfortable with something, they can find their home somewhere else, I guess. I
Yep.
was impressed. One of my earlier interviews with a free to play player that's very accomplished, and she's been in the top. I forget offhand if it was the top 100 or top 50 in one of the monthly challenge events. That was a goal for her, and she's never spent a penny on the game. And we had the same conversation, like, how do you handle that? And she's like, I really appreciate it. It's free to play. When people buy those things, it's given me some good resources. But she's like, I'm committed to not spending at this point.
Yep.
So kudos to you for staying the course for what works for you and what's right for you. And obviously, you wouldn't be competing on the level if you didn't have a worthwhile team that supports where you're standing. So
Yeah.
you're doing something right.
Everybody's supportive. Everybody's supportive. The member that left was there for I think a week, and then Mythic Titan rolled around, and they didn't appreciate it. And it is what it is.
They probably saved you time in the long run.
Probably that's the way we feel about it. I you know I have a group of co-leads, and several were asking why they left, and I explained it to them, and they all had my back. They were like, well, she's going to leave because of that, then we didn't need her anyway. She wasn't the wolf material.
Yep, there you go. You can sniff them out, right?
Yep.
There you go. So I was excited to read that when Taloria was reigning queen,
Yes.
you all did not go to green tanks. And I'm pretty excited about that because the alliance I was in for most of the Taloria reign, we always did fire tanks, and I was always pretty proud that we were as successful as we were not running nature. So
Yeah.
I don't believe we would cross paths because I think I would have remembered not having a green tank war. But you all chose Holy. Where'd that come from?
Well, we did eventually go to Tuluria for a little while. I think it was actually after Tuluria, whenever it was kind of starting to shift to reds for a little bit with Black Knight. That's when we chose to go to Holy instead of going to red.
Okay.
So I was a little bit bummed personally whenever they nerfed Tuluria out. I actually pulled a Tuluria, and that was my first kind of viable meta tank
Right.
that I had. So I was pumped, and then they started nerfing her, so that kind of hurt a little bit.
Um, yeah, everybody has a different perspective on the whole Taloria thing. I actually never maxed the Taloria that I got. Uh,
Mm,
like I said, I got her up to about 370, and then our alliance had already decided that we were staying with red tanks. And I was like, well, I don't need to do this. And I don't remember some other new attractive something or other that was green caught my eye, and I just never went to Taloria. And then by that time, I'm probably one of the few people that maxed Vila after the nerfs, and she's not got much play time just because of that.
yeah, that's understandable. They really kind of took the wind out of Vila, but in a way they helped her too. So it was a little bit double edged, but
True. Yeah, they actually made her weak enough that she didn't suicide on Mitsuko anymore.
right, right,
So that was frustrating because I'm a big fan of using Mitsuko against her and Finley. Of course, they did me dirty now with costume Marjana. I'd love to have her, but she reduces the attack of ice. So when I use Marjana with
he
Mitsuko, Finley is now not hitting as
hurts.
strong. So he did, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like it is what it is. You got to figure out a way to work around things.
yeah, that's true.
So, what's your feeling on the current meta? We've been in this Bara, Freya, minion tank things for many many months now. What's your prediction for the future?
We have for the future. I'm not really sure where it's going. It's looking maybe red with Elizabeth, but I'm not sure if that's going to hold. Um, Slayer family seems amazing, but those are on the rarer side, so I don't know if that would take over or not. So it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go. I'm not sure where wolves are going to go.
Mhm.
We haven't come to a decision on it yet.
Yeah, I think one of the challenge when they're, especially when we're talking about specifically the defense meta. I mean, if you think about it, the whole Taloria, Vila, and Gravemaker kind of combo fiasco came from how available those heroes are because they were heroes of the month. You know, it's only a
Correct.
1.3% chance, but it's every summons for an entire month
Right.
versus
Right.
versus a Black Knight that is available for an extended weekend, you know, at a worse rate.
Correct.
Um,
Correct.
and what's interesting now is they've added so many challenge events. Like you were just saying about the Slayer family being great. It's going to be many months. Like we might see them once a year. So that may create more of a drive for spenders to chase them when they're available because they're available less often. But
Yeah. I think that's very possible and very true.
I think that's also going to extend, or not extend, but I think it's going to remove some of those more interesting heroes from actually ever creating enough numbers to actually become a meta change. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not going to be
Yeah.
available. It's going to take too long. So like if you look at what we're dealing with now, Freya and Bara, they're part of a season. So the seasonal heroes are available
Yeah.
multiple times, you know, every month for
Every
multiple
month. Yeah.
days. And when they're first released, if you're a heavy spender, you can, you know, the people at the top who are probably spending healthy money, they can probably chase them uh, during the event, or excuse me, the release weekend, because the percentage
Yeah.
is higher for that one hero.
They'll
So
probably get it first go around.
yeah, so I, I'll be curious. You know, I never really thought about this until you and I were just talking, but I think the meta almost needs to follow either a season or a hero of the month. But I think based on all the heroes of the month since Taloria, I think Small Giant got the idea of not releasing overly. I'm going to get in trouble for saying overly powered heroes, but I don't know. We've seen heroes of the month that have been quite so impactful since that combination.
No, we haven't. For sure, we haven't.
So the other thing that I'm really curious about, and I'm seeing a lot of people run into do line breaks now on Elizabeth in particular, and you know a lot of conversations around Hannah and the Fiends. And I get how devastating they are and how punishing Fiends can be. But I find it interesting that people are making such quick decisions on them when we haven't seen the Grimble for the Fiends yet. Like we haven't seen the counter come out. And if you remember, Grimble wasn't so excited. People weren't very excited about
He
him as
wasn't.
a, and
Yeah,
now,
everybody hated him until the minion meta came out, and now Grimble's awesome.
right. So I don't know what your feeling is. Actually, I'd be curious to know your feeling as a cheap to play on the Aethers and how you make those choices on the limit breaking. Because again, I mean, back when Taloria was reigning queen, who wouldn't have limit broker? It would have been an obvious choice, but now
It
you'd
would have
probably
been.
be.
So I currently have not limit broken anybody. Um, I actually only have the ability to limit break a yellow at this point. Um, since the limit break quest don't give you enough to
Mhm.
limit break a 5-star. I've gained one extra 5-star mat for yellow, and that's it. So
Awesome. Well,
I'm
you're
kind
ahead
of
of me.
biding my time.
You're ahead of me. I haven't gotten any.
Yeah,
So I'm actually grateful that I don't have the fifth in a lot of ways because it forces you to slow down. And I'm just kind of watching what other people are doing with them. And I'm seeing
yep.
some what I think are very interesting choices. I just don't want to. I just don't want to be the person who limit breaks the Taloria, you know, and then they're not as valuable a year from now. I really want to have some longevity and versatility out of those.
Me
Out of
too.
those.
Me too. So I don't know. So we fought in several alliances that have limit broke heroes on defenses. Obviously, we haven't seen the full rainbow 5-star limit broke defense yet. I think we've seen some with 2. Don't know that I've fought any with 3, but I haven't noticed a much more difficult time beating those defenses with just 2 limit broke heroes on it. So I'm not sure, being a cheap to play, and with how rare they are, that limit breaking a defensive hero is the way to go, unless obviously you use them all over the place, then it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I put out a video out about that, and I think it's going to be a shame that the community, as like almost a silent agreement of this, feeling this need that they need to build a perfect defense team, is going to force people to go that route. And I find that frustrating because I am completely convinced that it doesn't matter how much money you spend or what you build, there is no unbeatable defense team. The game would be broken
There
if
isn't.
somebody.
No, yeah, there
I
isn't.
mean, and I just don't see that as a wise investment. But that's me.
The closest you get is Alfreak with multiple revivers during rush wars.
Right.
That's as close as you get to a perfect defense, and
Sure.
even they're still beat.
And I just put out a video last week on like 14 different ways to attack Alfreak. So
I saw that.
yeah, much more difficult, but still nobody is unbeatable.
Correct.
I have a double freak defense this week with a reviver, and it was straight wins. Like I was like, wow, I'm gonna have a completely undefeated week on defense, and I lost like 4 or 5 in a row. So it's like people have a solution to fix that. So I want to switch gears.
Our RNG gods can ruin that too. You just get the right team with the right board, and you can beat an Alfreak with a mono 3-star yellow team.
Right, sure.
With the right board, you can do it.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Truth. Truth. There are definitely those boards that you feel like the game absolutely wants you to win, just like there's the boards where they absolutely want you to lose. But
Definitely.
I did one war hit today, and I went 4-1 with ice being the 4, and I started with 4 ice tiles on opposite sides of the board. So you got to deal with what you got to deal with. Well, let's switch gears here a little bit. I'm curious what your troop strategy has been, because you have level 29s of full rainbow mana in 29s. So how did you make that road happen?
Oh, it's been a long grind. 4 years in the game. it takes time. It's splitting pulls between troops and heroes. You got to pull for troops if you want them up. Mm-hmm. That's part of why I shoot for the tiers in the challenge events that I do, so I can get those troop tokens for free pulls. Free anything is good for cheap to play.
Yeah, I hear you. No doubt.
It took me forever to get a red mana troop. I think it was February of this year I finally got it. May have been last fall. I can't remember the exact timing, but it took forever.
That was actually pretty fast leveling then, considering.
Yeah, so I upped one. I had red crit troops, so I leveled one crit troop up to 15, and then I just stashed all of my troops for when I got that mana troop. So the day I got the and I was running, what is it, Hero Academy 10 or 9, one of them that converts troops, 4-star troops to a different color 4-star troops. So I'd been running that for months, and I knew eventually I'm going to get it. So I was stashing ham, and the day I got the 4-star troop, I got it up to 23 immediately.
That is awesome. Yeah. That is absolutely awesome.
I had saved enough that I could do it right away, and then from 23, I took it a little bit slower, getting it up to 29, but I got it there.
Oh yeah, after 23, it's painful. It is beyond painful. Well, you
painful.
Have that is just incredible. It must have been like hitting the lottery the day that thing popped out.
It was. I think I let out an audible "we" or "yes" or
yeah,
finally.
Yeah,
one of them.
Sure, no doubt. All right, let's get in and deconstruct your war teams here.
Okay.
So you're making me feel good here. First of all, just being 4-1. I've been so many interviews in a row now. It's been the 3-2 players, which is the majority, and I understand why.
Yep.
It's nice to see somebody who speaks a different language for a minute. So the first one I have up is your blue team. Now I appreciate you're in your vehicle there. I'm assuming you don't have them in front of you. Do you need me to go who's on here, or you know them by heart?
I know him by heart. I've been playing with him for at least a year. There's been some trade outs here and there with new heroes that I've gotten, but I've been playing with him for a long time. I believe it was even before this Vera Vela or Vera Freya meta came
Yep.
along. I had pretty much had these teams locked in.
All right, good to know. And actually, before
So,
we get into that, I
mhm.
don't have your roster up in front of me anymore. I switched to the war team screen. Do you have any of the 5-star ninjas?
I do not. I believe the only ninja I have is the 4-star purple Amatrine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, she's a good one to have. So
She's not bad. Nope.
so you get her emblems up. She's actually she'll
I
compete with the
do.
5s for damage, not
Yes.
necessarily on the health defense, but on the attack for sure. All right, let's talk about
Yes.
your blue war team.
All right. So I have a costume Kirill. I have a costume Magni, a Richard, a Fenrir, and then Regard.
All right.
So
So as
general idea when I try to attack on the first charge, I like to get at least 2 kills to open up a hole to ghost, and then be able to have a good chance to finish the fight with a win. So costume Kirill obviously for defense down and attack down. Richard can usually punch a hole to let either Fenrir or Magni finish them off, and then Fenrir or Magni to finish another one off.
excuse me. It looks like the costume chamber's been kind to you.
I've spent a lot of my gems that I accrue with the VIP package pulling at costumes. Again, being cheap to play, my roster is very season 1 heavy,
Mhm.
so costumes help me tremendously.
Yeah, I can see that. That is a solid team that you have here. And you're running the double healers. That's something else that I've been slowly converting over to.
Yeah, for the most part, 2 healers, either obviously 1 off-color healer, mostly costume Regard or Regard.
Lost your audio.
Yep.
You're
All
back.
right, am I back?
Yep.
Okay. So with the big single time heal, usually it's a 2 healers. Sometimes I have a faux healer, I'll call it, in my strong color with. So we'll get to that when we get to the different teams, I guess.
All right, sure, no problem. And next up is your fire team, your red team.
My fire team, I have Bold Tusk. He's got a costume as well. I usually run him standard though for the attack boost.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have I just blanked on her name. Mitsuko.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yang Mai.
yep, Yang Mei. Another Regard. Regard's my offsuit healer, and then I have Marjana.
Yep.
Haven't got her costume yet, unfortunately. That's one of the ones I really want. It would think benefit me a lot.
It's funny. This is a pretty Asian looking team with Yang Mei, Mitsuku, and Bold Tusk actually has a kind of a look to him.
Yeah, he does. So I usually, like you said, Mitsuko against Finley's, stay away from Cobalt. So I try to target a Finley, or if I can find a Vela or another Master Lepus, heroes like that. So
All right.
use a blue reflect against him. Even better if it's Morel. Morel's a good one that I'm now starting to find a lot.
Yeah.
So even better if they have a double blue. I like the Morel Finley combos or the Morel and Lepus combos. I like finding those teams.
Yeah, there's something incredibly satisfying about using the enemy's weapon against them.
It's a lot of fun.
Yep. So Lord Loki stealing their actual just who they are and throwing it back, or the Hatter taking at least their buffs and bringing them onto your team, or the heroes like Mitsuko that throw it back.
Yep, I've seen those in action. I don't have either of those heroes, unfortunately.
Someday the RNG gods will bless you.
Hopefully one of these days.
All right, so now your green team is interesting. We're stepping away from the double healers, but we have not left regard.
Nope, we have not left regard. I like my green team. I think you put out a video about your green team being a 7-tile killer.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to mimic something like that. So I've got all of those heroes go off in 7 tiles or less. So we have Elmer. It's my Eve impersonation because I don't have Eve. Then I have Margaret as my kind of faux healer. She adds the dodge, so I try to target snipers with this team. And I have 2 Lianas, double snipers. They both have costumes, but I run them standard for their solo shot kills.
Yeah, Margaret's another one of those that I never maxed. I mean, she was. Did you max her after they buffed her?
I maxed her after the buff.
Right.
So I got her late in the game, and I heard a lot of, oh, this hero sucks, she's worthless, blah blah blah. So I got her to 370, and then I left her because I wanted to see what would happen. And then they actually gave her a little hit, and so that's when I pulled the trigger to use that.
Yeah, and I think there's a lesson to be learned in that. I am now trying to keep. I always keep at least one copy of every hero, no matter how awful they seem like they might be, because you don't know
Yes.
what's going to change. You don't know what'll change in the meta, how they'll get buffed. Margaret, I think, is one of those that I think there's a lot of people out there that I criticized for maxing them early. I mean, before the buff, I had actually never lost a single war raid if Margaret was there. I used to actually seek out teams because to me it was almost like it was a 5 against 4 fight because Margaret wasn't doing anything.
Right.
And now things obviously changed. She's substantially stronger, but you hear the laughs and the giggles about Sam and Loki, and it's like, who knows what day that's suddenly going to become a relevant special. I don't have Sam and Loki.
I've definitely kept at least one 5-star, unique 5-star, just in that situation. I've actually I had an account at one point in time, but I've probably fed a total less than 10 5-stars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they've all been 6, 7, 8, like Sartanas, Junes, Magnies, heroes like that.
Yeah, you'll never need them.
I don't think I would need 5 Sartanas or Magnies or anything like that.
And you know what? We got to probably watch what we're saying, because I back in the day when they were Hero of the Month, I pulled actually a number of Mickeys, and I fed them all away except one because we only ever have one Titan at a time.
Yes.
And now we have the Rush Wars where it would be beneficial to have more than one Mickey, and now we have Mythic Titans where
it would be beneficial to have more than one.
It's I'd really be cautious before anybody gets rid of one particular hero completely from their roster.
Right. So that's why I've so far chosen to only feed like I said, copy number 5, 6, and beyond.
Mm-hmm. So now here's another question: how are you managing roster space? Do you ever buy extra space in the shop?
I have, yes. I can't remember what my complete limit is. It's under 300. I think it's around 250 is my roster space, somewhere in that ballpark, 250 to 275.
Yeah, and that's one of those frustrating things. I mean, they do, and I tend to be pro Small Giant. I mean, they have an excellent business. It's a game we obviously enjoyed playing, but they really have our wallets down to a science. It's like
they do. They know how to get money out of people.
They're going to keep piling heroes on you and then tell you have no space to keep them, and then they got to charge you for the space. And then worse, this price of the space keeps going up. You're aware that happens?
I'm very aware.
I think my space...
I definitely track what I'm spending my gems on and how much everything costs, and I was not happy to see that keep growing and growing for the same amount of, for the same extra 5 slots.
Yep. I I think mine right now is up to like 850 gems or something, which to me is like almost $10. It's like 850 US,
Yeah,
roughly a dollar.
I think mine's at 300 gems for another 5 slots, but it's been a while since I've looked at it.
Yeah, it goes up.
Yeah. So I'm at the point right now where I don't need to buy any extras. I've got I try to keep a buffer of about 20 slots available for feeders to feed and keep leveling up heroes.
Yeah, you
That's
could.
actually why I finally started feeding a few 5 stars away.
Yeah, just need to make the space.
I did. So the first time I fed a 5 star, I think, was again early this year.
That's something. 3 years without feeding.
I waited a long time before I fed away my first 5 star, just because, even to this day, I don't have the full count, but I think I'm right around 60 total 5 stars that I've ever pulled.
Wow. And you're at the top of the game. Congrats.
I don't know about top, but I'm up there. I'm happy with where I'm at. We'll
Well,
say that.
there's at least 1.5 million daily players. So for you to be in an alliance that's in the top, even if you say top 20, top 30, 30, 30, 30s, 90 people out of, I did bad math there, 900 people. Even if you're in the top 900 people out of 1.5 million, that's the top. If you don't feel it, I'm telling you, you're at the top. You're
Yeah,
you're doing things right.
I do my best.
All right. Well, let's talk about your best with your yellow team, your holy team here.
Yellow team just actually got a new addition. I got Divana, so I put her in there. I've got 2 costume Junes and Anatel, and my staple Regard.
Hey,
Anatel is kind of my faux healer there. She gives her elemental link gives a little heal.
sure. And she also has
The Mana Steel.
yeah, the Mana Steel, which is it buys time, hopefully,
Yes.
which isn't exactly healing, but hopefully is, if your game's faster than theirs, hopefully you win, right?
Right. So I've got, I think all of my heroes are 9 tiles or less in all of my war teams, or all of my one-shot teams. I'll say all the teams I'll take to try for a one-shot.
Gotcha. Yeah, and Anatel, I've maxed, don't use her much, and I don't have any emblems on her. And every time there's a rush war or rush tournament, I'm like, I should put emblems on her. I
Yep.
assume you use her healthy in rush.
I do.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm aware that she is a beast for rush, but I'm not. She's not in any position to be working for me right now. So I'm excited to see her on your team there. So what kind of teams are you looking to tackle with this team?
Ooh, I try to use those against a non-Bara or a non-Freya tank when we find them, because obviously yellow stacks, you don't really want to kill them when you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
So a bad cascade can really hurt with a yellow stack against one of them.
Yep, I hear that, and I've
Pretty
been there
much
and I've done it.
Yep. So pretty much anybody, but besides Bara or Freya.
All right. Now your purple team suddenly regards in the majority.
Regard is in the majority, so I had to find another off-color healer. So in this team, I use a costume version of Regard for the attack boost. I use a Seshat and then 2 costume Sartanets. And then the 4th is a costume Melindor. So this is my my Dispel team. It's kind of the way I feel it, with Seshat and then costume Melindor. So all target teams that'll have counterattacks, anything that they buff their heroes that I need to get dispelled.
Sure. And for those who don't know or haven't really looked at them intently, Sartana is an absolute beast on health and defense. Like her
Yes,
numbers are incredibly strong.
very, very. So up until recently, she is actually who I was using as a tank, because I don't have Bara or Freya or a lot of other decent tank options. Sartana, I think, was the best I got. I got Jakazarat. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation. I managed pulling him, so I've been testing him as my tank.
Yeah, Sartana, season one, some of the season one heroes have little surprises. Like Sartana and Elkanen
Yeah.
are just incredibly strong numbers for defense and health. They're actually some of the
Yes,
top in the game.
very, very strong.
And then you add the costume bonuses on top of it, they just get stronger.
They do. And again, so on that team, I have Sesha, and I believe now I have both Sartanas all at 7 tiles.
Yeah, because you have the
So
costume bonus in there. Yeah.
yeah, I have the costume bonus, and then I put because I have a 29, a 17, and 11 troop in purple. One of the Sartanas I took up to 19 for the mana node, so I can put the 11 on that Sartana and get with the costume bonus, I can get it down to 7 tiles.
Yeah, that's something I don't think everybody always does the math on, but that costume, the 5% from the costume really knocks down.
It helps a lot with mana breaking.
Absolutely. Now your last team I'm super excited about. I've actually only done the variation of this strategy now twice. I did it once in the last war, and it was a little bit of a nail biter. But the Scotty attack.
The Scotty attack. I am loving that team. It's unorthodox, but it gets the job done a lot of the time. So that team is a costume Kirill, Gulen Bursty, I think that's how you say it.
Yeah, Gillen Bursty.
A costume Melindor, a Regard, and then Scotty. So
yeah,
4 4-stars and 1 5-star using in war.
Yeah, I just today actually uploaded my second Scotty attack. I did an attack revenge video with Tathane from Gypsy Danger, and maybe you've done them enough that you don't get as nervous, but I kind of clench a little bit going through it because I'm like, am I going to get her off in time? Am I going to get the healing that I need?
Yeah.
But
so sometimes, going into the attack, I'm not nervous. When I see the initial board, sometimes I get nervous. But with 3 off-color healers, and then my 2 blues, I feel pretty good. It hurts that Golem Bursty's slow. That hurts a little bit, but I like the boosted health aspect of it.
Yeah, it's valuable.
Because if it gets timed right, I can use a Regard to heal everybody at full, and then fire Golem Bursty for the overheal, and that way if I do get a slow blue board, I can withstand several attacks from defenses.
Yeah, I think I did this. I attempted this attack for the first time. It wasn't Saturday's War. I think it was last Wednesday, and my Scotty doesn't have any emblems. And very early on, she took a hit, like before my healers were up, and she was like half dead. I'm like, like this can't happen. She's the only hero that does any attacking.
Yeah.
But
it's nerve-wracking. I tested different setups with it, with on a 3-2 team, with the 3 stack being a Regard and some hitters, and it just didn't have the same effect, because a Regard and 2 hitters doesn't really help you a whole lot. A lot of times you can kill 1 person, and that's going to be about it. It's usually not enough.
So another thing that's been coming up more and more as we're seeing some shifts in the meta is the value on taunt heroes. And
yes,
you don't have Krampus or Black Knight, I'm guessing.
Neither. Nope. I went. I saved up. I think 70 hero pulls tokens all of last year, and used them all for Christmas. And I got a Santa, but that was it.
Well, Santa's at least awesome with the defense down and a healthy attack to everybody.
Yep.
But Krampus and Mother North are probably still the gems of the Christmas season.
Yeah, of the Christmas hero, Santa was the one I wanted least.
Oh, he might actually have been the one that I maxed first, but that was just because I'm I'm a little bit addicted to defense down heroes. But what where are you at now with your? That's a good question. Your epic hero token savings. When are you looking at using them now?
So last time around, I did it for the Halloween event. I was hoping for a Vanda because at the time we were looking at maybe running red tanks. I thought she may be decent. I got Victor. Didn't get either Francine or Vanda. I was kind of wanting for all three of them, or at least a couple of them. But Victor was the only one I got. So I'm not sure. I may wait until Christmas again and do a big Christmas pull.
Did you see we just got an update today that includes costumes now for the Halloween heroes?
I figured that was coming. I didn't see the announcement, but since they did the costumes for the Sand Heroes, I figured it was coming for the Halloween as well.
I'm gonna be curious what the heck they're gonna do at Christmas. Like, how do you put a costume on Santa? I mean, Santa's Santa.
Yeah.
We'll see what.
We'll see what they do.
I'm sure they'll come up with something, and I'm sure we will have plenty of opportunity to complain about it.
Yep.
So, any last parting words, suggestions, piece of advice, anything you're most proud of as achieving as a cheap to play player?
Thing that I'm most proud of, I'm just staying within myself. We'll say that, not, thinking I'm, more or, even less than what I am. I've been try to keep a realistic view of what my profile or what my roster is and what I am able to accomplish with it. Lots of practice, lots and lots of practice rating, trying out different, combinations, and trying just to. I have to be able to maximize what I have to be able to compete.
So I'm going to imagine that this conversation is going to inspire a lot of cheap to play players out there. So if there are those cheap to play players watching that are thinking, wow, what does it take to get into one of the top alliances? What would your advice be? Like, what should they be working on to make themselves an attractive recruit?
Troops are definitely a big part. So, don't neglect troops. You got to have, at least three. Wolves look for minimum three troops. So we look for a 29. We like to have 23 and then 11. We're okay with the 29, 17, and 11 as long as, they're working on progressing them.
And what other requirements do you have for the Wolves?
That's mostly it. We like 35 or more 5-stars, just so you can have some different combinations if you need to for wars.
And I probably don't follow top alliances as much or as closely as I probably could or should. So how long would you say the Wolves have been floating in the top 50 or so?
Ooh, year and a half, somewhere in that range, maybe close to 2 years. I came to Wolves and it's been right at 2 years ago. We were around the 100 mark, I think. And, we made a concerted effort to really push to get up to the top 50 and then, top 20. So I think it took, 3 to 6 months for us to get from 100 to 50. And then we've kind of been bouncing around and really kind of trying to step our way up into top 20 ever since then.
That's really awesome. How did you come into the leadership role?
So I got leadership role a little under a year ago. It was about 9 months ago. I took it over from a player called Ronan Dex. We had played together for 3 to 6 months or so. We actually was 7 days emerging at the time. They're emerged now, but we didn't agree with some of the leadership there. I won't get into that, but Ronan had known Julia for a long time. She's the leader of King of the North. And so we came into Wolves, and Ronan took over the leadership there, and he led the Wolves really from the big push of 100 up to, almost where we are now. He got busy in real life, but we were, side by side, through that whole time. And when he got busy, he handed it over to me, and I've been kind of driving the ship ever since.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on a stellar story and a stellar rise. I look forward to, I think it'll be our third match when we see each other again.
Yeah, I think it's the third. Yeah. So, a message for the cheap to play, well, anybody really. The people just starting out, find a family that fits you. Even if you're in one of the low tier alliances in that family, you can gain knowledge from the upper tier members in that family, and that will help you a lot. I learned, it's probably where I really learned how to play was when I was in 7 days emerging. I got a lot of knowledge there from being in the joint groups with the rest of the 7 days family, and then King of the North family has obviously the same setup. When we first came over, King of the North was still the top alliance. Since then, they've kind of stopped pushing as much. Wolves has taken over, as the trying to lead the North, we'll say.
All right. Nice.
But we have 12 or 13 alliances in the family, several in the top 100, and then we have other building alliances that we have shared groups with that everybody shares information. We firmly believe in the sharing of information and trying to teach and help those players become better.
Excellent. Well, on behalf of the Empires and Puzzles community, these interviews have been very popular lately, and people have been really appreciating players taking the time to share their unique perspectives and stories. So thank you. Really appreciate the interview today.
Yeah, thank you for interviewing me. I appreciate it.
you